Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's May 28th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see our next frontal system off the coastline. Look at some lenticular cloud activity across the Vancouver Island and British Columbia. There's even some across the Olympic Mountains here this morning as well. I'll be watching later on to see if some of these kick off across the Cascades also. But you can kind of see our clockwise rotation, our anticyclonic shield here that's going to give us a very warm day here across the region before this frontal system starts to creep in as we go through tonight. We'll take a look at what is going to come with that frontal system, including some thunderstorm activity maybe as we go through the afternoon and evening tonight on through tomorrow morning. Now, taking a look at the lightning strikes over the last 24 hours, nothing for BC, Washington, or Oregon. A little bit for some of eastern Idaho and Montana-Idaho border there towards Yellowstone as well. That'll be changing over the next couple of days, but looking at things right now, as you can imagine, we don't have much rainfall going on. Unless you go way up across western BC, up towards southeast Alaska, up towards Ketchikan there. So yeah, our frontal system is in, it's in place and it's coming here over the next day or so. But we've got a little bit of time and a very warm day in the meantime. So if you guys want to go to the Patreon page, it does a very good job of updating you when I do release my daily videos. So it's good for that. You can sign up publicly for free, or you can help support the channel on here as well. Now, looking at day one convective outlook, you can see how it does include some Washington, Oregon, Cascades mainly to the east, and maybe including some of the foothills if you guys like lightning, and you might just get lucky enough we get a couple strikes out of this system as it rolls through. Day two, that's eastern Oregon, portions of eastern Washington, Idaho, and western Montana and British Columbia would be under the gun there. Then day three, pushing off to the east yet again. So taking a look at that troughing here across the Gulf of Alaska, there's the ridging here again that we talked about, our invisible shield just protecting the Pacific Northwest for one very warm day. And then the frontal system kind of swings through there as we go through tonight and tomorrow morning. Then we build the ridge back again here because we're going to warm up a bit here again on Friday, Saturday. Going to dry things out. Gulf of Alaska trough still in charge out there, helping to amplify this ridge. And then we start to bring another trough in here as we go on into this weekend. And this might not be too rainy for many areas, but you can really see kind of this complex troughing here going off across the western portion of the USA, and the ridge, big flip-flop here between the troughing and the big ridge out here across the Gulf of Alaska is going to help drive that north and northwest flow back down across western USA. And this times out perfectly with my next storm chasing trip as well, because this is going to bring some active weather, multiple rounds of it over several days, as this troughing is going to be dominating the west portion of the USA. So if we look at the European model here, you can kind of see as we go through tonight, you see some of this activity could be a thunderstorm or two across Oregon Cascades. That starts to move up tomorrow morning across the Washington Cascades, Lake Chelan, up towards the Okanagan River Valley, and the frontal system is moving through as well as we go through the day tomorrow. So kind of a off and on rainy day for some areas west of the Cascades and northeast Washington, British Columbia, some Idaho, Montana with the thunderstorm activity. But then we dry out Friday pretty dramatically, and Saturday most areas are fairly dry much of the day. But you can see that next frontal system really racing in here as we go through Saturday, bringing some light precipitation amounts, more as you go further north, Vancouver Island, southwest BC, getting more out of this system. And then we can kind of see this troughing hang out. You see the intermountain west showers and the showers popping off across some of the Pacific Northwest. This would have some thunderstorm potential here as we go towards the end of the weekend and on in through Monday. You can kind of see this hanging out all the way on through Monday night there. And that's where last night's European model run ends at 144 hours. So looking at lightning strike density potential. So as we go through this afternoon, again, it shows for the Oregon Cascades. The European not too bullish on the Washington Cascades there, but I'll show you more on that here in the high resolution stuff in a moment. This would be for tomorrow. You can see that threat is going to be Cascades, east, northeast Washington, eastern Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and then we go on in through Friday. There's Friday right there. Not much. We kind of reduce that lightning activity. And then there's Saturday as this trough starts to get established again. We're going to bring that thunderstorm threat back down across the area. You can see Sunday starting to light up maybe western Washington, southwest BC. Again, we'll be monitoring that. And then Monday, you can kind of see that open up across a lot of Washington state. So we'll be watching that over the next next couple of days as well. Now, looking at composite reflectivity, this is what the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 60 hours. You can see our frontal system as we go through this afternoon. That's about 5 p.m. And if you notice across the Oregon Cascades, again, showing that thunderstorm potential, this is for this afternoon and evening. That does move up across some of the Washington Cascades as well. That could bring a few lightning strikes towards Yakima or portions of the Cascades. And then as that system moves through on Thursday morning, you can see it's not a huge precipitation maker, but as that moves off to the eastern, the afternoon hours, that'll have some thunderstorm potential with it as well. Then we dry out yet again here on Friday and Saturday as we await that next trough, the complex troughing that's going to open up across the western portion of the USA. So looking at the high resolution rapid refresh, this is the 12Z run. So there's that thunderstorm activity there popping off. Pretty close to Bend out there as we go through this afternoon. Then we go through on in through this evening, and you see some of these. These would probably have some lightning associated with them. There's Yakima, Ellensburg, out towards Cle Elum and whatnot. There's the Washington-Oregon border. Frontal system by this point here, very early tomorrow morning, moving towards the Washington coastline, Oregon coastline, and that's probably thunderstorm activity up across Lake Chelan, up across portions of British Columbia, and then that frontal system is moving through. Again, not a huge precipitation maker unless you're directly underneath one of those cells. Also temperatures. So today, it's been tailing off a little bit here. You saw a couple days ago it was saying upper 80s. Now it's more low, mid 80s here, but still a very warm day today upcoming. Then we drop those temperatures down a bit tomorrow. We start to bounce back a little bit here. Looks like some mid and upper 70s showing up for Seattle. And I'll show you the rest of the region starting right now. You can see some 90s out there, eastern Washington, again, mid 80s. Same thing for Portland there. Look at that 86 back into the Fraser River Valley, British Columbia. Then we go through Thursday. You can see that frontal system is definitely going to suppress temperatures for tomorrow. Then we bounce back Friday and Saturday. We cool down a little bit here west of the Cascades, and we go on into next week with that troughing around. We'll have to continue to see what kind of temperatures we're going to get as we go on in through next week. So 24-hour precipitation running totals. You can see Seattle, look at that, maybe 7/10 of an inch, maybe a little bit more for Portland. But again, not that much rainfall coming in here, but you will notice it because this is going to cool things down. And if I scroll back here, you can kind of still see some of the North Cascades, BC, Washington border up over 1/3 of an inch more. The further you go north up across western BC, Vancouver Island, some of the Washington coast getting up over 1/3 of an inch towards 1/2 an inch as well. And then we scroll on in towards Friday, Saturday. We dry things out, but there's Saturday's system. You can see, I mean, it only shows 1/100 of an inch for Seattle, but more for Bellingham, southwest BC, some of the Cascades here as well as we go on in through Sunday morning. And then that troughing is going to set up shop here, and we'll see what that is going to bring. As you can see, kind of these scattered showers all across the region. Now, looking again here, 500 millibars. This is the European ensemble. This is all the average of all 50 ensemble members. And as we go through Friday and Saturday, again, we dry out, but then that trough really opens up. Really good model agreement on this trough. Been watching this for some time, but we get that big flip between the Gulf of Alaska low, now becoming a ridge, and then the troughing takes shape here over the western USA. So it's going to bring some unsettled weather here for a lot of the Intermountain West. And yeah, this times out perfectly with some of my storm chasing plans here, because this is definitely going to bring an active pattern here across Tornado Alley. Now, looking at the artificial intelligence, this looks a bit further out into the future. You see that ridge Friday, Saturday. Trough starts to set up here and really gets established across western portion of the USA, again with the ridge out over the Pacific Ocean. What happens after that? Well, you continue to see some troughing across western Canada, and the Gulf of Alaska troughing gets reestablished there also. So depending on where this ridging sets up versus this troughing, we're looking way off into fantasy land there, but that would bring something interesting actually. That's kind of a wet pattern here for the Pacific Northwest, and don't want to put too much stock in that just yet, but it's something we will be watching as we go on into the 10+ day time period. And if we scroll out, we're going to scroll all the way off into the extended forecast. So we're going to go way out here. There's the trough across the western USA. Heights start to fall again across the Gulf of Alaska and western Canada, and you can kind of see some of these systems get going. I mean, what is this, an atmospheric river here in the first half of June? But you know, just purely a fantasy forecast right now. Just kind of interesting to see the European artificial intelligence model showing that at this point. So if that ends up being right, maybe we can come back and look at this here on May 28th and see and marvel at the power of the artificial intelligence model. Total snow, just going to scroll through this here pretty quickly. You see for the next 6 days, you're talking about not much at all for Washington, Oregon, maybe some of the higher areas, just a skiff of snowfall there. Rocky Mountains, some of western BC, a little bit more there as well. Here's the 15-day precipitation anomaly. So this goes out 15 days. Again, you kind of see that below normal signal here in the European ensemble mean. This is yesterday afternoon. And we'll be watching this trend to see if we are going to turn wetter here for the first half of June for the region. And we would definitely accept it. Let's put it that way. So these are April 1st through May 26th. We are well below normal here across much of the region, pretty substantially so for some areas. You see these reds? That's between 5 and 25% of normal. And you can see the widespread below normal signal there. Since January 1st, it's better here for some areas, but still as a whole below normal. And since the water year, it's a little bit better, but someplace like Western Washington and some of the Rocky Mountains there for Idaho and Montana are below normal. Northeast Oregon, some of the North Cascades, and some portions of Western Oregon below normal as well. And this is the 6 to 10 day. Make sure that is up to date. It is. It was issued yesterday. You can see that trough. They're kind of showing that here in the 6 to 10 day forecast with the above normal signal here across a lot of Intermountain West. So anyway, yeah, we'll check everything again tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Enjoy those warm temperatures. Get out there and enjoy it if you can. As you can see, hardly a cloud in the sky, maybe some lenticular later. And then the thunderstorms start popping off across the Oregon Cascades as we go through this afternoon and evening, potentially moving up overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning for Washington. So anyway, I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.